What's up, guys? It's your boy Zawoki back out with another Chris Watts video. And today's video is one that I wanted to watch quite a while. I just never got a chance to watch it until now. And with Martin Decoder being a professional language analyst or body language analysis kind of person where he went to school for it. He knows what he's doing. I'm not the professional. I'm just that guy that behind the keyboard that just talks and talks, and apparently people don't like that. So we're going to bring in the professionals. So Chris Watts complains about his polygraph test, but what does the test actually reveal? Well, one, we know he's lying. Two, I think we need to watch it to find out more. So before we go any further, if you guys could do me a solid favor and subscribe to my YouTube channel by hitting that white icon down at the bottom right, hit the bell icon next to it. So when I do post videos like this one, you guys will get that little ring notification that I've posted that video. And then you guys can watch, comment, like, and share. And again, I thank you guys so very much for that love and support. And then make sure you show that same support and love at Martin Decoder. Link is in the description. Go give him some love. And without further ado, let's get into the video.
These are called pneumograph tubes.
Okay.
Okay, these are going to measure involuntary movements in your chest cavity during the test, okay? So what I need you to do is put your hands together like you're diving in a swimming pool. Put your wrist on top of your head.
He's like, I got this. I've been training for this. And I'm going to pass this. And then they tell me he fails, and he goes, oh, crap.
On top of your head.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Have you ever had someone complain about something that you knew was his or her fault? Have you ever had someone blame you for something they did?
Yes.
This video is a study in how Chris Watts evades responsibility and shifts blame. First, I'll have a look at Chris's many complaints about the...
I've always wondered that too. What if he actually, hear me out, tells the truth about his daughters, that he's not the one that committed the crime of his daughters, but he knows who did. And when they asked him, do you know where your daughters are? Did he answer it in a way that would expose a possible third party? That's why I'm watching this video. So,
polygraph, and then I'll have a look at the polygraph itself. Make sure you watch until the end, because things are about to get rather embarrassing for Chris.
Haha, okay.
Don't forget to click the like button, and if you're not yet subscribed,
go give him some love, guys.
Click the subscribe button and the notification bell for all updates. Liking and subscribing make it possible for me to make more videos for you.
Is he a teacher?
What do you think about Chris's claims? Leave a comment below to let us know. In prison, Chris made a phone call to his private investigator. His girlfriend at the time, Anna.
Martin Decoder's looking fresh to death with this suit on. Maybe I should get him a suit.
Told Chris to tell about the evidence that supposedly wasn't true. In other words, she's feeding right into the blame shifting that comes so naturally to Chris. Blame shifting, when consistent and misplaced, is a prominent narcissistic trait.
So, Chris, what were you saying before we got cut off about when he asked?
So this was one of his girlfriends back in the day, I do believe, or a person that wanted to help Chris out.
I remember what it was, but you were talking about the evidence and your confession that wasn't true.
And of course, Chris doesn't miss the opportunity to talk about his struggles.
Which confession? The first one, the second one, the third one, the possible one that he's talking about in his head?
The interesting thing is that he talks like this as if people empathize or should empathize with him, which speaks to his complete lack of self-awareness, another narcissistic trait.
Well, I just know that I've never experienced anything like this before. Like from the tragedy that happened, from the enforcement to the interrogation, the jail, the prison, all this was new. All this was new, and I know that. I knew the shock and the trauma was there in my mind. I didn't know how to process things.
This is the beginning.
I don't know how to process the trauma and all this stuff. Well, maybe you shouldn't have done it in the first place, Nimrod.
Of Chris's excuse as to why things didn't turn out so great for him.
Idiot.
Speaking about his trauma, which unfortunately has become a buzzword that people who aren't actually traumatized will use to garner sympathy at the expense of people who are actually traumatized.
Every question that they asked me, I was just agreeing with them and just going along with what they said, because I was like, well, I guess we got to tell them something. And
so there he is playing the follower again instead of the actual leader.
They came here to prison and interrogated me. They were in the street clothes acting like they were just talking to me, when in retrospect they were actually interrogating me again. So all that is like null and void.
Chris claims he was just going along to every question they asked him. A hyperbole like this is...
That's why he lied for, instead of a -4 to show that he is completely lying, that he had a -18. Okay, Chris.
Easily falsifiable. It's not the kind of language that a subject should use when trying to sound reliable. Notice how Chris frames this to make it sound like he was doing the agents a favor. This is a willful distortion of the truth.
They were in their street clothes because they were enjoying the trip from Colorado to Wisconsin, and then they were trying to figure out more about you. So would they really honestly be in their normal? And also, the detectives that we see here, they normally wear street clothes / a little bit more professional with their badge and possibly their weapon. It's like this man has never gone outside to see what people move, talk, and feel like. Chris was just in his own little bubble.
Next, he again shifts blame, making the way the agents were dressed sound like a problem. And again, from his point of view, the self-focus is obvious. The self-focus is obvious. The most noteworthy thing is that he didn't realize that he was being quote-unquote interrogated in the prison interview. Apparently, he thought it was just a regular conversation. Chris isn't an all-round
What, he thought they were up there to shoot the breeze and hang with a friend? Like, they're being friendly with you, dude, because they're trying to get you on their side so that you open up. And he pretty much rolled over like a dog, rubbed my belly. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. That's why I think when it comes to the whole murder that happened, I don't think he's smart enough to even think about the process of it, like, the brains of the operation, which I can't give any credit to Nicole Kessinger for having brains, but maybe she was the brains of the operation, told Chris what to do, or she was involved more physically. But again, we can't know because nobody wants to bring her in and talk to her.
Intelligent person. So once again, this speaks to not just his lack of self-awareness, but also his lack of ability to pick
He's got a lack of a lot of stuff.
Up on social cues. I mean, who laughs like this when someone like Chris tells a funny story?
I guess I was not her type.
You weren't her type?
I wasn't her type. Okay. Like she told me, like, when she first, because we had met.
She told you that?
Yeah.
You're not
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it was like, I should have known the doorman, was in a suit. And I was just like, this isn't good. And like,
was it a theater?
It was a fancy theater, right?
It was in Charlotte. It was called the Epicenter. And yeah, it's when she first saw me, she was like, I should probably just turn and talk to the bartender a little more. And like, no, I'm not here to meet.
The agents were highly skilled in making Chris tell on himself.
Yeah, that's pretty much what the Martin Decoder is saying. He pretty much rolled over and said, rub my belly as a dog. Like, he didn't realize that they were there to seek more answers. I still think that they were there to fish more out of him of NK or for NK, but he was literally like giving them all this information, pretty much how Shanann was removed from this earth, and just played into their tactics.
Time and time again, and they knew how to do it. Feed into his self-focus and make him tell stories about himself. At the same time,
or treat a man like a child and he'll tell you everything. Because literally, if my, I don't know what it is, but it seems like all these guys that I've seen on TikTok and all that stuff, that when the woman is treating them like a baby or like a child, like, oh, I love you, kind of kissy, they're willing to do anything and everything because you're respecting them, they love them. And then when you do that as a friend, kind of like Tammy and the other guy are doing, he's going to open up like friends that you would have too. If your friend is telling you certain things, and you can, I don't know if I'm if I'm making a good point here, but he really rolled over his self and asked them to rub his belly. So
made the agent seem jovial and believable. But now, apparently, Chris has a big problem with it. You can't make this stuff up.
All that is like null and void. Still,
I was caught with my pants down and they found me, and I pulled my pants down on myself, and I just feel like they did it to hurt me. That's literally how stupid it is.
they're going to try to use all this stuff against me. But I know that from that interrogation,
Why would they have to use it against you when you've already been sentenced? Like, you're not going anywhere. Why would they like add more time? Like,
to the first one, and all that was like a coercive type psychological intimidation of someone that
you know why he's saying this? Because one, he's probably talking to people like this Anna, wherever that K woman was. He's talking to other prisoners that are telling him that he's got a fighting chance to fight back because he was, used.
had never been in that situation before, and they just use that to their advantage.
Chris initiates this passage with the adverb still. This adverb implies that he's provided sufficient evidence in the preceding passage. He hasn't, of course, but his inference lets us know that he thinks he has. We should note the simplification all this stuff, which is a misleading dismissal of the actual evidence that the agents have from their conversations with Chris, including his confession. He refers to himself as someone, making his specific situation sound like it has general application and relevance to others. Chris calls it psychological intimidation, even though he went through exactly what any other criminal goes through.
Exactly.
But of course, when it happens to...
He's not the one that's been through intimidation and good cop, bad cop, and then slap with a, oh, here's your handcuffs. He thought he was going to get a no kind of thing. Oh, we'll let you be with your mistress. Is he an idiot? Yes, he is.
To him, he has to make it sound like he's suffering an injustice. His internal need for blame shifting doesn't allow any other possibilities. It sounds more like he's annoyed with the fact that he wasn't able to decode the agent's intentions. But of course, he can't admit that, because that would mean that he wasn't the smartest guy in the room, that they outsmarted him. Next, Chris starts whining big time, and it sure isn't
like NK pretty much won over him.
Pretty.
So strange. But the thing I know, like where you're talking about playing a game, is when the TBI agent and the FBI agent, like when the TBI person, the woman, when she like questioned me for hours,
Tammy.
and after those hours of interrogation,
He had a full night of rest. He had a nice breakfast and so forth. Probably his last meal as a free man. Besides that pizza that he had while looking at his children that he murdered. But he makes it sound like I was used and abused. I need to redo this. What he's also probably pissed off about is he didn't ask for a lawyer. He just vomiting words out pretty much.
she puts me on a polygraph, and then I'm like, exhausted at this point. And then after that, like I'm sitting in there alone, and I hear them outside the door. The FBI agent comes up to, oh, how did you do? And she said, oh, he did pretty good, but I think we get some more out of him. And they come in with this game face saying, okay, you lied. I'm thinking to myself, wait.
They're literally reverse psychologizing him, and he's mad that they tricked him. He's pretty much, it's like a kid having a temper tantrum because they lost at Monopoly. Like, they're not going to win because Monopoly is pretty much a strategic kind of game. And when the kid loses, he has a poor sport about it. Chris is kind of mad. He's being a poor sport that he didn't catch on to these guys, or to the two agents that came to talk to him. He's having a pissy fit.
I thought she just sounded pretty good. And I didn't question about it. I just believe what she said that they said I made it. But I know for a fact she said, you did pretty good. But I think we get some more out of them. I was like, I'll only think about this stuff way after it happened.
All right, Chris.
Like, wow.
Even after all his deceptive answers and detailed confession, Chris expects us to believe that this can all be excused with him being exhausted as he claims he was. Again, he puts himself first, how he supposedly felt. And he makes this polygraph sound almost uncalled for. Also, the reason why he supposedly felt exhausted is because he was lying so much. There's nothing exhausting about being asked a bunch of questions if you know you're telling the truth. So he gives himself away when he says that, and he doesn't even notice it. But he doesn't stop there. He has other entitled complaints to make. It's worth noting that the conversation he claims to have overheard about doing good can mean at least two things. That pretty good means that he scored high on the unreliability scale, or that he did pretty good, but not good, since pretty modifies good. Chris, however, immediately takes the words pretty good as praise, as if Tammy was praising him. He doesn't acknowledge the possibilities I listed, likely because
He's being good as a liar.
they would imply that he wasn't doing great, and we can't have that. Furthermore, it's very likely that he didn't overhear anything, that he's lying. Even if Tammy did say this, it's inconsequential. Chris told lies, and ultimately he confessed. He's grasping at straws because he doesn't feel remorse. In the prison interview, he even expressed hope that people would eventually stop judging him, which again speaks to
Nope, we're going to keep judging you there, Chris.
his massive sense of entitlement.
So I just hope that, hopefully one day people can stop judging everybody.
Likewise, he wrote to his mother that he's still a dad, still a son, no matter what.
You're still a son, you're not a dad.
And also a servant of God, that God has shown him peace, love, and forgiveness. He writes with such entitlement, expecting that the people he's hurt would actually want to be associated with him if they had a say in the matter. This is particularly true for the title Dad. Also, he invokes the idea of forgiveness, thus implicitly expressing what he expects from people, forgiveness. Overall, being able to write like this after all he's done points to emotional immaturity and a critical lack of empathy and ability to hold himself accountable.
He didn't have
He also
nothing.
mentioned one church service, which allegedly and very conveniently made an impact on him.
There was one church service, the only one I've been able to go to in here, and it said you're not defined by one moment in your life. And I think that's like, people are defining me by one moment.
This is a pretty big moment there, Chris. Pretty big moment.
One moment in my life. They don't know what happened before or what can happen later.
Notice
We
how
don't
Chris
care.
places the burden of performance on other people, because by inference, Chris expects people to not define him by one moment in his life. One moment is an extreme euphemism, downplaying his carefully planned decisions. In conclusion, we've identified prominent.
He acts like he doesn't want to be defined by not paying his taxes, not getting his tabs on his car done on the month that they're supposed to be done. No, you murdered your family. And you don't want to be defined as a father killer? Tough.
Narcissistic traits.
Or like Nicole Kessinger doesn't want to be defined as the mistress, the other woman, the second version, the gross, the empanada turned to Hot Pocket.
Emotional immaturity, inflated sense of self-worth and self-importance, lack of empathy and remorse, constant blame shifting, and
all the time.
Related to this, willful attempts to distort the truth and put the burden of performance on everyone else, as he talks about forgiveness and judging. If anyone tells you stop judging, ask them, are you judging me for judging? Stop judging is a self-defeating statement, as the statement itself is a judgment. We all make hundreds of judgments each day when we'll leave the house, eat dinner, what we'll watch on television, and so on. Judging isn't bad in itself, it's needed to survive. Narcissistic people will often guilt trip you into thinking that you're judgmental. They'll use popular buzzwords
Like in K. Sorry, I had a sneeze and a cough.
with negative connotations because ad hominems are their way of manipulating people into compliance. Now that Chris brought up the injustice of his polygraph, I thought it would be interesting to see how the polygraph actually went down, because it didn't appear to be as exhausting or unfair as Chris claims it was. First of all, Tammy arranged a 6-minute pause before the polygraph.
I'm gonna have you take a bathroom break. We've been in here quite a while. I need one as well. Let me find out which bathroom you're actually supposed to use. Hopefully one of them will come in here and help us figure out which bathroom. And then we're gonna come back in here, and then again, I'm gonna tell you how and why the polygraph works, and we're just gonna get kind of into the testing, if that's cool with you, okay? All right, so let me see if someone can direct you to the bathroom.
I wonder if he's allowed to take his phone with him.
What up? Hey,
Is this the whole pause?
I'll just take you out to the lobby, and then I'll just have you sit right there real quick, and then I'll come grab you.
So you have this here?
Oh, you can take it with you, whatever. Throw it in your pocket.
Chris is remarkably and thus unreliably polite for a suspect. Also, his
Wow.
is incongruent with the feelings
Well-
of sadness we would expect him to feel at this point in time with his family missing. Again, he's unable to see how he comes across. He thinks he's fooling Tammy, but he's only fooling himself. Secondly, Chris hasn't exactly shied away from talking. On the contrary, he's enjoyed giving unrelated and unnecessary details as a way of trying to deflect, but also simply because he enjoys the attention. What's interesting
Like in K. Oh, this is. Oh, this cough. Sorry, guys.
is that he doesn't look beyond this superficial attention. It's as if he's completely clueless about Tammy's motives. If anything, Chris has exhausted himself with his excessive speaking. This is one more reason why his blame shifting makes no sense.
Or my go-to.
During the pregnancy,
Yep.
what kind of soda did you like?
I'll do.
Now, did you?
That's what I like.
Questions. Everyone at work makes fun of me for drinking it.
No, like my favorite was like the Baja Blast. Mountain Dew.
Oh, see, I didn't like that. Because don't they still have
I bet he's having a Baja blast in prison.
Taco Bell. That's where it was.
Let's see how the polygraph specifically took place. Tammy makes sure to emphasize and repeat a word like lie as an intimidation tactic to see how Chris responds to
Oh,
it. And to
when
let
she says, "Are you lying about where your wife is or your kids are?"
him know that he can't defeat the polygraph. She also mentions likely scenarios about what's happened. Her tactics are working because Chris is remarkably compliant for a suspect, and his voice cracks, indicating internal stress.
Let's go over the questions that are going to be on the test. Is that
Those needles are all going. He's lying like a mofo.
cool with you?
Yeah.
Just so you know the words to all the questions and there's no surprises and that kind of stuff, okay? And then we'll...
Am I allowed to like breathe like during this?
Yeah, I'll explain all of that to you. It's, you're obviously still a person.
Are you allowed to breathe? No, Chris. You gotta hold your breath the entire time.
You still have functions that have to go on for you to be alive, so... But, you know, that you would have been the direct cause of their disappearance, okay?
That's another thing, is if you to try to cheat. I've seen on like Steve Wilkos and like what was it? There's another one. I want to say it's Jimmy Carter, but it's not. But they would tell us that some people actually Googled how to fake a polygraph, and breathing, like irregular breathing or controlling your breathing, would actually possibly beat the test. And I would want to know if they actually looked at Chris's phone to possibly see if he was trying to like learn how to beat the test, or did NK tell him how to beat the test, or I don't know. Is that a possibility? Who knows?
Does that make sense to you? And then obviously lying about the last thing you saw, that would be because maybe you helped someone or you did it yourself. Or so you're going to be taking what's called a directed lie polygraph.
That exact question that she just said, I wish she would ask to NK.
So what that means is there are going to be questions on the test where I want you to lie. Because I want to see what your body looks like when you tell a lie. So when I ask you this question on the test, before 2018, have you ever wanted to hurt someone to get even with them? You're going to say,
No.
because you're telling a
Lie.
Awesome. Well, I'm sure you would agree from a very young age, your father taught you, you know, that it's wrong to lie, cheat, or steal. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And that there's consequences when you lie, cheat, or steal. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, I felt like I felt, I don't know, his was, the heartbeat thing, that's the only thing that I thought it was measured off of.
Next, Chris continues to be hesitant and very easy for Tammy to control. If Chris had wanted to speak up about injustices, there would have been plenty of opportunities for him to do so. And he's had plenty of time to process things, unlike what he claims in the phone call. The only reason he feels like he didn't have time to process things is because he was lying. Lying for hours at a time is extremely stressful for the brain, since the brain constantly has to make things up and disregard experiential memory. This is an
You got to remember this line. You got to remember what this person said, and remember, oh yeah, this person. That's why he was giving all these other the people, like he was giving Cassie and the other Abby, and then Sandra, and he's giving them all different answers about Shanann's whereabouts or where she could possibly be. She went to a friend's house. She left me, and she's punishing me. She went to a doctor's appointment. Like, he was just making crap up.
Unnatural state for the brain to be in, no matter if a person is good at lying or not.
Like NK! Oh my gosh. It's just, it's in there.
Knowing that justice was served in the end, it's kind of hilarious and much deserved to see Tammy order Chris around, while Chris desperately tries to keep up with her instructions, to the point of apologizing to her.
So I'm going to explain to you the components as I'm putting them on, because I think it makes the most sense, but I do need to kind of move your chair a little bit. And I'm going to actually have you, can we set these down on the floor like next to you? Is that cool? Your water just a little bit. Just because I'm going to put your arm up here in just a minute.
Okay.
And you can have a seat back
Okay.
there. So the first thing that we're going to put on, Chris, is, these are called pneumograph tubes.
Okay.
The blue one's going to go kind of down by your belly. The silver one goes up a little higher underneath your armpits, okay? These are going to measure involuntary movements in your chest cavity during the test, okay? So what I need you to do is put your hands together like you're diving in a swimming pool. Put your wrist on top of your head. On top of your head.
Sorry.
That's okay. And then just lean forward slightly so your back's off the back of the chair. Perfect.
She said on top of your head, not here, on top.
I'm going to try not to laugh you in the face. And if at any time like this feels too tight or whatever, just let me know, okay? And I can adjust it for you.
Who cares
Pretty
about his
skinny, though.
adjustments?
I want to make sure it's not going to fall down too far. And put your hands up. I'm going to do the silver one. Does it feel like it's too tight, or does it feel okay?
Okay.
Okay.
She said to sit up, Chris.
That's at the right time. The next thing we use, you can put your hands down, I'm sorry.
Chris can't complain about the questions either. They were clear and unambiguous. In short, Chris has no case. It's game over.
Are you now in the state of Colorado?
Yes.
Before 2018, did you ever lose your temper with someone you cared about?
No.
Have you ever met anyone like Chris? Let us know in the comments.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I know that's probably annoying by now, but yeah. I feel like he's trying to get off by saying, yeah, I didn't do this alone. Like I had help without saying it. But yet again, complains about the test. He complains that he wasn't the smartest in the room, acts like a poor sport, and so forth like that. But I definitely think in all aspects, with him complaining about the polygraph and him saying it wasn't me, I believe that he is somewhat stating the truth there because he wasn't the only one involved. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think I'm grabbing at straws, as the Zwolki haters and Shanann haters say? Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to subscribe, comment, like, and share. And then go over to Martin Decoder. Give him some love like he should get. And we will see you guys in the next video. Please take care, be safe. And as always, keep nerding on. And we will see you guys in the next video. Peace.